Thank you for joining me today with Stamping with Loretta. Today is a design team project along with a challenge project for the Saline Pineapple. This is Oscar the cat, and I am coloring him here with some Copic markers. I'm not being real particular as to staying in the lines, since here in a few minutes I am going to actually fussy cut this image and use it on an art journal page. During this progress video, you are going to see that I have to go over him several times. Some of the detail did get lost when I started applying some other medium on the top of this to apply it to my art journal page. All the links for today's stamps from Vicky's The Saline Pineapple Etsy store will be linked in this video, on my blog, and possibly down below this video on the YouTube channel. So please check those out and buy these for yourselves. This week's design challenge was to use something recycled in your projects or to upcycle something that you already have. I purchased some spray bottles and things for my art projects, and when I got them, they came in a box that was stuffed with some Chinese newspaper, and as you will see in just a minute, I used those to make a background for my art journal page today. Just a minute ago you actually saw my precious little Abby puppy, who jumped up on my lap and was trying to see what I was doing, so she was sniffing around the paper, and that was fine. She didn't make a mess and she didn't get dirty, so it was fun to have her in my lap for a little bit. So yeah, I had first thought about just cutting this image and leaving a slight border, but I did decide to go ahead and fussy cut it. I did use a pair of relatively sharp scissors to do that job. Of course, anytime I'm working with mixed media as I go along, I do heat set my images. I tried to cut as much of the heat setting of this project out as I could. However, I didn't do a whole lot of excessive editing with this project. I have it sped up about 8 times its normal speed. The entire project took me about 2.5 hours to complete, and I'm very pleased with the way it came out. The only mishap I really had with this project was that the white gel pen I wanted to use had run out, and so I just used some sparkly white paint that right now is showing up kind of clear, but in the end it did come out. There are times that this project, as far as the paint goes, got a little bit dark on me, but that really didn't bother me too much. And in the end you will see that the texture and some of the text print from that newspaper showed up very, very well. I used just some typewriter paper in the end to print off some different sentiments that you will see. This is the perfume bottle, also from the Saline Pineapple, and I'm coloring that in with several Copic markers as I went along. I also did not pay much mind to doing this in a very fussy way as far as staying in the line, since I also am going to go ahead here in just a minute and fussy cut this image. When coloring with Copic markers on a digital image that you've printed out on your printer, I do recommend that when it comes off the printer, if you're not going to let it sit for a few minutes to dry, that you do heat set it so that the printer ink is completely dry when you go ahead and start working with this image. You will find that you'll be really happy that you did that, and it keeps the image from smearing now. And later on, when you apply other media on top of it, it also kind of helps keep that color in. In the very end, I did go back over this image with several other Copic markers just so that the lines would be a little bit more crisp and clear. And it was a really fun art journal page to do. As you can see, the rear end of that kitty cat was there on my desk. Now I'm applying just some regular gesso to my art journal page. My two pages are held open and flat right now with just some ordinary office clips, and I actually went over this page in one direction, dried it, and then went over it in the opposite direction with a second coat of gesso and dried that as well, just so I'd have a really good coat. I used some just regular matte luster Mod Podge from Plaid to apply that newspaper. As you can see, like I stated before, it is a Chinese newspaper that came with an order that I placed for some cosmetic grade bottles, as well as some small spray bottles that I use all the time in my crafting. I certainly enjoyed ordering them from this particular company. I think it's DH Gate or something similar. It's not really that matters too much, so I'm not going to look it up and try to post the information to the website since I don't show their products really in this video other than the newspaper. I base coated the page with some purple paint from the Master's Touch that I worked in a little bit of gesso too, just so that the color would be a little bit lighter. I just used a regular flat paintbrush that I have in my collection to accomplish that. I am now smearing on some orange paint. I had used a little bit of my Delusion spray, that is also from Ranger, toward the bottom half of that. And I actually used a mister that had a little alcohol, rubbing alcohol, 70% isopropyl alcohol to be exact. I'm using a little gesso on the back of my paintbrush just to flick some white onto the page and break up the darkness, I guess, of the background. And I'm going to continue to work with the paint on the background of this page until I have it exactly right. I will tell you that there was a lot of heat setting involved with this process. Like I stated before, a lot of that I went ahead and cut out just to save some time. This video has been sped up about 8 times its normal speed and flipped so that it is right side up. Which is something that I am really glad I figured out how to edit videos better. I was bound and determined that one day I would get it, and literally one day I got it. It was really kind of a funny story, but I was sitting here going, wait a second, if I can flip pictures when I upload them to Movie Maker right side up, why the heck can't I do it with video? And I tried it, and sure enough, it worked like a charm. I am sealing down the piece with that same Mod Podge medium. Right now I am actually not quite out of my medium that I used to seal my pieces down with, that Krylon Workative Fixative. It's just that right now I have had a very busy week with Vacation Bible School, and I simply have misplaced it in the craft/stamp area. I do need to clean off my desk in the next day or so and get everything ready so that I can have some fun just to play next week. Vacation Bible School is over. However, tomorrow, Sunday, is the big day when we show the parents what we've learned, and there's the big family lunch at church, which I'm looking forward to. So I had a great time. I printed off all of the sentiments from my computer onto regular printer paper, and I used my Stamper's Best big marker in green to go back over those, and I also used that marker to add some finishing touches to the piece. This is just a pearl pen by Viva Decor that I'm using to add a little bit more interest to my piece.